You are safe and healthy. Today, we have a really exciting program for you. We are going to be talking about Jetpack CRM. It's not a new product. It's been around for a few years, but it's something that we're really excited to be offering to you. So again, my name is Marjorie. I'm going to be sort of your host today, and I will be joined by my colleague, Jeff, who is handling our live stream on YouTube, Facebook, and for the first time, LinkedIn. Jeff.
Hi, everyone. Jeff Rosick here from the WordPress.com marketing team, also in Colorado. And yes, we are also going to be live on our WordPress.com Facebook page, our Automatic YouTube page, Automatic with 2 T's, youtube.com/automatic. Of course, if you're here, stay right here. And hopefully for the first time on LinkedIn as well. So it's great to be here. I'll be over minding the social conversation, and we'll see you again soon.
Yes, and speaking of the video, so if you can't make it throughout the entire presentation, don't worry, the recording of the broadcast will be available on our YouTube channel. Again, that's youtube.com/automatic in a few days. And if you didn't get that name, that's okay. Everyone who attends, and even those who registered but couldn't attend, is going to get an email with links to the recording once it's live on YouTube. So don't worry if you didn't catch everything. If you have any questions about the product, if you have any questions to our presenters, feel free to post it in the Q&A panel. You'll see it on your screen at the bottom of your screen. Just post it in there and we will answer questions as they come in during the presentation. So you don't have to wait till the end, but we will also mark some questions live or to be answered live. So those will be answered at the towards the last 10 to 12 minutes of the hour so that our presenters can answer them live. So without further ado, because we have a lot of information that we want to share with you, I'd like to introduce you to my first colleague who will be presenting, Woody Hayday.
Hi, I'm Woody. I'm just north of London at the moment, and with Mike, who will introduce himself in a minute, we founded Jetpack CRM, which is a WordPress plugin which does CRM.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Mike. I'm in Manchester, UK, so not too far from Woody. We used to meet up quite frequently before all of the events of COVID, so now we're used to spending our days looking at little grids of faces and communicating this way. So we thought a Jetpack CRM webinar would be useful for people that haven't seen our faces since potentially using the product. And just to give you a bit of a demo and run through the CRM with a lot of data that we're putting in and generally how we can use it on WordPress.com.
I'll start sharing this. So this talk is going to be on staying on top of your business with Jetpack CRM. We're going to cover a lot of things, all CRM related. But as Marjorie kindly said, if you've got any questions, please do ask, and we'll try and answer them as we go along, if they make sense, or at the end. Here, what we're going to cover today is a two-part demo. First, we're going to show you how to install Jetpack CRM on WordPress.com. And then I'm going to hand over to Mike, who's got a much bigger demo set up with many thousands of lines of data, which gives you a bit of a rounded view of what it might look like a year in, having used the CRM for a while. Then we're going to move to the question and answers and tackle anything we've missed as we talk through. So let's first look at this. It can be that when you start a business, you don't actually know what CRM means. It's not surprising. It's a kind of generic term, but at its core, what it really means is a list of contacts. It's a way of collecting the core information about everyone that you interact with as a business, whether you're a small startup, or an entrepreneur, or a giant, large corporation. Your business and the sort of sustainable long-term growth of it relies 100% on the relationships you have with your customers in whatever form that is. And you can go way further with your CRM. You can go into things like segmenting your audience and doing other complex data analysis. But at its core, for most businesses all around the world, it's a really big list of data, which is very accurate, which allows you to act on that relationship you have with your customers day to day. I put a side thought here, which is one that's been coming up much more this year, which is, if you run a small business, how resilient is that business when something like a change event happens that we've seen this past year? What what does that mean for your business? And a lot of our users have been happy that they've got onto CRM before the event happened. For example, if you're a local shop and suddenly you haven't got access to basically the majority of your customers, it can be catastrophic if you're a low cash flow position. So being able to email all of your customers or send a quick text out saying we're open again from Tuesday has been a really good way, a good example that CRM has shown to improve the resilience of your business. And certainly a business with a CRM full of data is worth a lot more money if you ever needed to sell it. So hopefully you got a chance to read that. What we're going to do next is jump into the demo. As I said, this is in two parts. I'm going to first go through a scenario where we've got, get out of this, a construction firm. It's got quite a simple website. They perhaps haven't been very technologically pushed. You know, they've been running a local business for 10 years and they've just got the website sorted. They've got a very basic website. In this case, it's Mike's construction company. Maybe they don't even know what a CRM is at this point. As I say, a lot of our customers come to us just learning what a CRM is at the beginning of this cycle. And that's a great position to be in, actually, because you've got a lot of value ahead of you as you start using tools like Jetpack CRM. So if you were running this website, you were Mike or one of Mike's team, how would you go about adding Jetpack CRM? I'm going to show you that now. So if you're on WordPress.com, this is what your backend would look like. This is on a business plan, which is a necessary thing to use Jetpack CRM at the moment, because you need to be able to use plugins. So from here, I will click plugins and simply type Jetpack CRM, install, and activate. There is many ways you could have a CRM. There's offerings like Salesforce we could talk about, which is a much bigger platform that's hosted in the cloud completely. In our case of Jetpack CRM, it actually sits in your WordPress, which is for some people a huge advantage, for others maybe not, but you from our point of view, get a lot of benefit as a small company in doing so. So if I just put here, I'll just go through this. This is the welcome wizard, which asks some basic questions. In fact, we'll do it as Mike Construction Company. We are here in British pounds, which is right at the top of this list, which is not loading. But we'll do it in euros for time here. It's a small business, and we'll say local in this case. As you go through this setup wizard, there's lots of choices. I won't go into detail with them much here. But as you'd expect with any WordPress plugin, there's a lot of options, and it's very, very modular intentionally, so that whatever the small company is, you can tailor the experience for that company, which is something we found that customers are very happy to have. Right. Let's try and go back to the actual. So that's Jetpack CRM installed. So from here in your WP admin, you'll now have this menu, which has lots of different things. You can click in here to get a bit of a view. As I said here, this is without any data in. In a minute, Mike will show you a much more full data set, but you get the basics, which is that we have these options like contacts, quotes, invoices, transactions. And these modules like quotes and invoices and transactions are all enableable. You can turn them on or off, along with other things like events through tasks, forms, and a huge number really. We've got of extensions. I think we've got 31 at the moment, Mike?
Yeah, 31.
So what I'll do here, just to give you a quick example, if we look at Mike's website, Mike's construction firm, they've got a number of pages, but their contact us page is very, very simple, and probably not very easy to collect data from. They probably get some emails in through here and some phone calls. Perhaps they're storing that information in a spreadsheet or something. But with Jetpack CRM, what we can do is go to that page. which is contact, this one. And we'll close that for now. What we can add is a Jetpack form. If we go here, so when this logo is here, we can see it's a Jetpack form. So in this case, if you click form, contact form, and this is simply added a contact form here, but there's this nice integration. If I go show block settings, we've got this CRM integration here. So when this is ticked, anyone that submits this form, their information will be automatically added to your CRM, which I'll show you now. So if I take this page, open it, incognito. So I'm a prospective customer now. I've just found out about Mike's construction firm and I want to quote something. My name can be David Johnson.
Woody, it's not showing that incognito page.
Excuse me. Yeah, 1 minute. I'll just switch screens. Thanks, Mike. See that okay?
Yeah.
Cool. So David fills out this form. I'd like a quote, please. And submits that. And come back to another screen. 1 moment. See that okay?
Mm-hmm.
So if I jump all the way back now, finally to my CRM and look at my dashboard, you see I've got a new contact, which has come in as a lead, which is the default status for contacts. And if you look at my contact lists, we've got this new person. I'm sorry if you're here, David, I didn't mean to just use a generic email. But what you can see is that this user has filled out this form on this page and some basic information about that user. But rather than having to do that in a back office somewhere where you get a phone call or you get an email, you have to add them to a list and remember it. The benefit, one of the big benefits of Jetpack CRM being in your WordPress is that things like contact forms directly plumbed into a CRM is a very quick and easy action. So I hope that helps. You get a little view of how it works on WordPress.com. I'm going to hand over to Mike next for a demo of a bigger data set.
Okay, thanks, Woody. So that was just a quick touch of adding the single contact. So just checking, can everyone see my screen? Yep. So this is the CRM with a lot more data in. So I've generated a lot of dummy data in the CRM. So the dashboard is now populated with, you can see how many contacts you've been adding each month. So if you're running a contact us farm, you can see whether your efforts to get more leads are working or not. So maybe you ran a bit of a campaign in April and then maybe something went wrong in May. So you can sort of see the trend here of, do you need to be looking into your data a little bit if you're not adding as many contacts through the CRM as you used to? And then you can also see how your business has been doing over the past year in revenue, and a little bit of information of how many of these leads that are coming into your CRM are you converting into customers. So you can see a high level sales funnel. So you're converting about 100 out of every 700 contacts. So this is the dashboard, and throughout the CRM, there's a number of little learn buttons where you can click and it'll tell you a little bit of information there about your CRM. And if there's certain areas that you find you're not using, so I've turned a couple off here, so recent activity and latest contacts, you can always turn off some of the charts and just see a little bit different in the dashboard. So this will show you your most recent contacts. So you can just go in and view the contact straight from here. And then the latest activity, it's a little bit funky because I've just generated a lot of data. So that'll be a little more useful if it was a real CRM. So taking a look at the contacts, again, you can see here that it's added a load of contacts to the CRM, and you can see their status, and we've been tagging them as they've been coming in through various sources. So we've got 153 people with the event subscriber tag. We've got 335 VIPs. And then you've got 161 that have made a web purchase. So you can generally manage your list through here.
We just had a question from Mariah Kampschaffer. I said that right, Mariah, which is quite poignant. She says, can I manually add users into the CRM? So I think it's a great thing, if you weren't already, to show a manual addition.
Of users or contacts. So with Jetpack CRM, the contacts that are in the CRM are independent to WordPress users. So you can have as many contacts, but you're not going to be having thousands of users of your WordPress site. You could potentially go in and see the admin area. They might be able to, depending on what permissions you give them. So with this, any contacts in here are generally independent to WordPress users. And if you want to add WordPress users to be able to also access the CRM, there is a CRM team area. So as you can see here, just myself and Woody have permissions to see this area of WordPress. So if you want to add more users here, you can add a new team member, and that will send them an email and invite them to the CRM. But as for adding a new contact, it's as easy as just filling in a form. So you can just fill in as much data as you like, and then again, make an example email, and then save. Then that contact is in your CRM. And I haven't got an image, so it's a little stick figure, but that's how easy it is to add a contact. And you can do that as many times as you like, and it won't keep adding new WordPress users. So it keeps it segregated.
I'm sorry, Mike, if I may interrupt, can you do the same? Like, can you bulk add contacts as well?
You can. So you can do that via CSV Importer. So on under contacts, you can see you can import. And if you have a list of contacts, you can import them into the CRM. And so there's various other things as well. So you can import companies and transactions if you've got the Importer Pro extension. But if you just want to import a load of contacts in bulk, you can do that through the CSV Importer.
There's lots of ways we can get contacts into the CRM, just to reiterate. We have things like WooSync, which is an extension we offer, which automatically pulls everything from WooCommerce. We have PayPal Sync, which does the same from PayPal, Stripe Sync, and some others as well. So all those are sort of set and leave automations that just automatically put everything through. So often users have a combination of things. So maybe WooCommerce Sync after the fact, but initially they might want to bring some users contacts from a different place, so that use CSV Importer initially or manually add them.
Yeah. Are there any more questions on the contact area before
I've got one from John Callanan. It looks like we can only filter the contacts list based on a single filter. Can we filter by additional fields?
So at the moment, it's only either filters, tags, or segments. So we have segments in the CRM. So for example, we could have VIP Mike. So you could have anybody with status lead. So full name. Contains Mike.
So what you can do is create these kind of dynamic segments that are pre-baked. So later you can use them in various areas, like sending mail campaigns, or as Mike's going to show you in the list view.
And so so right now we've made a segment there, VIP Mike, which is sort of like a combination of different fields. But as for, if you did want to see everybody that was tagged event subscriber and VIP, for example, you can't do that at the moment. It's just a single filter.
Unless you do it through a segment.
Yeah, unless you do it through segments. If you want to see things at a glance, you can bring in additional columns to the contact list. So you can then see things a little bit easier there, and you can click any of these. So if you just want to look at people with VIP, then you can see what other tags they might have at the same time. Yeah, but as I was saying, the only way to get more than one at the moment is through a segment. So that is the contact area. So then once you're in a contact, this is the contact view profile, and this builds up the history of the contact. So you can see here that we've got no quotes, no invoices, no transactions, pretty much nothing on this contact apart from a couple of tags. So you can do things with the contacts. So if you wanted to, as Woody showed with the contact form, if you wanted to add a quote, and you can say construction build. So this is in dollars because I'd set mine in dollars, so it's a different example. And then you can put things into the quote. So hello. Oh, you can save a quote like that. And then that's been attached to the contact. So if we go back to the contacts, you can see that now that this contact's got a quote, and then you can jump into that quote and see the quote. And then the CRM does come with a client portal, so you can then see more information about the quote in the portal, and as a user they can log in and accept the quote, and then you can go on to do invoices. So that's a very quick quote area, but we do have different quote templates as well. So under quote templates, we've got a web design example here. So and you can use placeholders. You can use things like business name, customer name, if you set them up in the CRM settings. So if you're sending the same type of quote out over and over, this saves a ton of time. So if I do another example, to make another quote. And this time,
there's a question about quotes. Can I ask you?
Yeah, sure.
This is from Brandon. Hi, Brandon. With the quotes, can I pull through my products from my website and add them straight into my quote?
Not currently. No, you'd have to add them as a standalone table here. So I'm presuming maybe using something like WooCommerce there. But no, we've not had anybody ask yet really to have the ability to bring in products.
We have got this in invoicing though, haven't we, Mike?
Not at the moment, we don't, no.
Oh,
so
yeah, sure.
So as you can see with this one, it's populated the contact name there where we put it into the template, and it would have populated the business name, so Mike's Construction. You can go in and edit this, but it just gives you a lot of the template that you may have to keep writing over and over. So again, you can save that quote, and you can take another look, and it's in the portal. So that's where we are with quotes. So then the other part of the CRM that you can do for the contacts as well is invoices. So you can then add an invoice, and this is a similar system to before. So you can add a logo, and then so once you've done the work, website build, you can save the invoice, and again you can preview it in the client portal. So they're the main areas of the CRM. You've got contacts, quotes, invoices, and transactions once either invoices are paid, or if you're running a WooCommerce store, if somebody makes an order, then it will come up as a transaction, and optionally generate the invoice as well. And I've not actually got it turned on in this demo, but if you go to the settings of the CRM, we also do have a B2B mode where you can store company information as well. So I'll enable that in the settings. And now you can see that we've got companies as well. So if you have a company in the CRM, it's exactly the same as before. So WordPress. Save the company. And then when you go back to contacts, and edit the contact, you can then assign a contact to that company. And then you can see the contacts that work at that company when you go into the company view, and you can get around them a little bit easier. And then it'll say works for WordPress in the area of the contact. So it just gives you another bit of additional information that you're building up on contacts there.
So, Mike, there's been a few questions about transactions. Maybe you could show a little bit more there. Try and read one. So Mark asks, can the invoices be integrated with Woo so they can click a link in the invoice to play online? So WooCommerce.
Yeah, I can just quickly touch on that. So I need to activate the extension. So the Jetpack, if it's not already activated. So there's a number of different extensions for the CRM. So WooSync here, you can activate. And then once WooSync, Jetpack CRM WooSync is activated, if you're in WooCommerce, and we add an order. So we've got one that's pending payment, and then if you choose a customer, so if I do this one, and then add an item, add a product, so sales dashboard.
And so because also a side note here is that the Woo marketplace is very developed, so you can get a lot of great plugins that work with WooCommerce. So whether it's booking or events is a great example. There's huge, great, seriously effective plugins that work just really well with Woo. And through things like WooSync here, you can get the kind of best of both worlds, where you've got all of that information pulled into a CRM through Woo as a middleman and through WooSync. Yeah.
So you can see on here that me adding that order in WooCommerce has brought it straight into the CRM transaction list. So you can see that here, and then just what it would do. So you see WooCommerce order, and then what that is actually should have done as well. You can optionally have WooCommerce make an invoice in the CRM settings. You can see WooSync's come in, and you can say create invoices from WooCommerce orders. If that's selected, then if the order is pending, save. So there now should be an invoice. Yeah, so it's made an invoice. And then if you preview that invoice, so this was the one I made earlier, sales dashboard, and then at the bottom it'll say pay now. And then that will take you to your WooCommerce pay for your order. So again, this is just a demo site so that you can't actually complete the order, but if that person did, then it would update the CRM and the invoice to reflect the fact that it's been a successful purchase.
So hopefully that answers the question, but please do ask again if we've missed anything there. So I can switch to questions, Mike, but maybe what have we got left on our original plan to?
Yeah, so we jump through those. Yeah, so I installed WooSync, so each of the extensions for the CRM are individual plugins that you can optionally have activated or not on your website. So you can see any with a little tick, the ones that we've got installed, and ones that don't have a tick, you can click in and you can learn a little bit more about what they do. So Sales Dashboard will give you a bit more information about how your business is doing in a little bit more advanced to what you're seeing on the actual CRM dashboard. So you can see an example here where it will show you essentially your sales over time, how many new contacts you're adding. But there's plenty of extensions to choose from. And you can see them all on the Manage Extensions area. And then the other part of the CRM is we've got the core modules as well. So if there's areas that you're not using, so if you're not going to use quotes or invoices, you can deactivate the quotes and then it will disappear from the top. So you don't need to be using every area of the CRM if you're only using it as a contact list and you're never going to use quotes, invoices, or transactions. You can turn those off. So that's the main area there. As I touched on before, you can add users to the CRM to help you manage your contacts, and you can give those people different permissions. So you can add a new user and you can give them a particular role. So if you just want them to manage customers, you can just give them the customer manager role, or you can give them the full CRM permissions role. So if people with those roles won't be able to go and publish a post on your website, they can only see the CRM. So is there any other areas, Woody, that you think is worth touching on? Are there any other questions coming through?
So John Callanan asked something just as you're talking about sales dashboard, it might have answered it, but is there a way to customize the dashboard to change leads, transactions to another metric? We have a pipeline that has different stages and would be helpful to display in the dashboard. I can answer that a bit. Maybe maybe you could show some sales dashboard.
So in the settings.
So John, we've got an extension that's called Sales Dashboard, as we just talked about, and that has a much more holistic dashboard. It may not have, perhaps we've been asked for several times, a kind of transitionary funnel diagram. We do have another extension called Funnels, which might answer this too. But because Sales Dashboard covers so much of the metrics of a typical subscription business, for example, or e-commerce business, most users are pretty happy with that mixed with the other dash.
Yeah, so I don't know if you're watching at the same time as what I was talking, but I've edited under CRM settings and field options, you can control what's shown on the funnel statuses. So I've added an emailed step in there. And then if we go back to the dashboard, I've turned off the funnel. So if we put the funnel back, you can see that now it's got an extra step in there of emailed in the middle. And that is running from the statuses in your contact list. So as Woody was saying, we also do have a funnels extension, which runs from the same tags. You can see here essentially how many people are coming in at each stage and what type of value is with that stage. So if you've got a number of quotes in there that you've built up a lot of value that you're trying to convert down the funnel, you can see at a glance how many leads you're getting in the period, what status they are, and how many are falling off at each point. So you can see this based on different periods as well. So you can take a look over longer periods and see whether your efforts to maybe email more leads is helping you get more customers, or whether any changes to your website helps you get more leads. And you can just track that over time. So you can look at the latest month and you can compare that to how you're doing with earlier months and if you've made any changes in your business. So that's another extension that we've got available.
Perhaps you could just quickly show Sales Dashboard as well.
Yeah, so the Sales Dashboard again, it's very similar. It's got a ton of data in, and you can see again the latest month and how you're doing compared to the same period. So revenue's gone down, contacts has gone down. But we are still growing the total number of contacts month on month. So this gives you a good idea of what you might want to be focusing on with your business. So in July, there's quite a lot of, we're up 21% in July, but then down 29%. So was July just a little various uptick. So you can look at different periods as well. So if you wanted to look over the last year, and again, this is dummy data. So year on year, we've grown 21%. So again, that's a good indicator of business performance. And you can see that that's potentially through adding more contacts in the year. So there's that, and this just gives you that, and you can even drill it down to custom ranges. So if you just wanted to look over the last week, you can see how that's doing compared to 5 days ago as well.
That's great. Hopefully that answers it for you, John. Please do ask again if you've got anything else. Maybe we could switch gears a little bit, Mike. Brandon asks, could you run through the task scheduler a bit, please?
Sure. So we've probably just got enough time to touch on 2 other areas. So again, on your contact record. So we've got down to transactions. You can add logs, which are very quick. So very quickly add a log. So you can just say show sales dash some funds. So this builds up the record on the contact view, and you can see that that will show as you're going along. And then the next one is tasks. As you can see here, you might have certain things to do. So follow up on sales dash demo. So I'm going to do that, and we'll do it on Monday. Oh, that's Sunday. We won't do it on Sunday, we'll do it on Monday. So then apply this, and so the contact's a bit confusing because I'm also contacts. So pick a random contact. So this then gives you a contact here that you can see. And you'll be able to see now that there's a task, an upcoming task to follow up on the sales dashboard demo. And then you can go in there, and if you've done it, you can mark it complete. If you've not done it, it'll show up in the list to do on Monday. So that's the calendar view, but you can also have it on a list view. So again, once you've got more tasks in here, you'll be able to see a little bit more information, and you see what's coming up in the next day, in the next week. So again, if we jump forward a week, you'll see that it's there in a week's time.
It also shows up against each contact. So if you've gone through a series of tasks against contact, you can see on the actual contact record, I've done those 2 stages, but I've got the last 2 things left to check.
Yeah, exactly. So can we remember who that was? Eugene. So we'll find Eugene in a moment. So go back to contacts. It's Eugene. As I was saying, you can see the task there. So probably got enough time to then, what you can do then is jump into email. So you can send an email to Eugene. Sales dash demo. Hope you liked it. Over socially distant. Send email. So then you can see the information here, and again you'll be able to see the contacts, data, and what's been sent.
So I think there's several questions, so I'll try and answer in one go. Brandon asks, can I filter down on quotes and go through all of them? And I think, can I filter on tasks? I think you asked as well, Brandon. I hope that's right. Most of the areas you can filter things through list views. Tasks is a little bit different, isn't it, Mike? In that it's mostly presented as a calendar. So you don't have that kind of granular sidebar which says search or filter by tag. I've got tags there, so it's definitely something we could add in the future. It does make good sense, that one. But things like contacts, invoices, transactions, forms, all have effectively the same list view, which lets you do all of that filtering, as Mike's showing on screen now.
Yeah. So there's slightly different filters depending on which area you're in. So with invoices, you just do by status, so you can see which ones you might need to follow up with that are unpaid. And again, with all of them, you can control what areas are in or out of the column. So if you don't really want to see the customer in that, well, the reference and the ID, you can remove one of them and just tidy your list. So yeah, most things are filterable, most things are exportable as well. So if you go to export, you can go on and you can just choose which areas of the contacts you want to export, and you can export them all. Just thinking, are there any other areas that I may have missed? So we've done team, we've done emails.
Perhaps you could talk about mail campaigns briefly, or I can.
Yeah, sure. So let me quickly, we do have a couple of minutes until question time, so let me quickly install that. So again, you can use as little or as much of the CRM as you like. So we've got mail campaigns.
Most of what Mike's been showing you is in the core plugin, which is actually free, and anyone can use that straight away just by installing it, as I showed you earlier. We then have these 30-odd extensions which are paid, which you can buy on jetpackcrm.com to supercharge the experience. But by all means, the core free plugin does a lot of the heavy lifting, and for many small businesses, that will be totally sufficient just to get CRM sorted. So mail campaigns is an example of an extension that is paid.
Yeah. So what you can do with mail campaigns is you can create a campaign, and it can either be a single email or a sequence. So say we do an email sequence, and then what you can say now is, so this will be VIP sequence. And then again, you can choose a segment like before, or you can just look at tags. So say we have a segment called VIP Mike, and again, now there's 3 because it's added another contact. And then you can go in and choose to write emails in this sequence. So you already got the placeholder there, so hello contact name.
I should just say that this is also in beta, but it's pretty much there. It's soon to be released as a live version.
Yeah. So each of these you can choose different styles of email, and you can add various delays between. So you've got a few steps, a few different emails coming through, and each one you can choose a different style. Same complete, and then this will start going out to people who match that segment. So it'll take a bit of time to go, but you can see which recipients have had it, and then you'll be able to see the steps as well. So how many have been sent in each one, how many have been opened, clicked, and how many unsubscribes have been there. So again, that's all running directly in your CRM. So if you have a segment set up that, or even tags, any new content that matches that segment or tag will automatically go onto this mail sequence. And you don't have to just be sequences, you can use it for any type of broadcast as well. So you can create a single email broadcast, which might be an October, Halloween, never spell Halloween. So the Halloween
just
deal.
say now, Alison has asked, is mail campaigns part of the free Jetpack? No, it's not. That's a paid extension. Perhaps at the end, Mike can show you the pricing page. It's useful. But you can see it all at jetpackcrm.com. What's free and what's paid.
Yeah. So it's the same thing here with a broadcast. You can send test emails, and then you can send it. So that will only go out to one person. And then you can see whether that person's opened it, clicked it, or unsubscribed, and you can view what email went. So I didn't put any information in. And then you can manage those again from the mail campaigns area. So you'll be able to see which ones are going. So that was the single broadcast. And you can see the sequence as well. You can check in and see how it's been going. So it takes a little bit of time to start sending, but once it does, you can just leave it and it'll keep sending.
Great. Well, we've got quite a lot of questions that are quite specific to different areas. So maybe we can keep you, yeah, it's a great page to end on, I think. As you can see, these are the 30 odd paid extensions, which you can get as a package for $199 optionally, or you can buy them individually. A good page on this website, if you come to jetpackcrm.com, is to go to features, which has all of the stuff, which is free. So you can see every single little detail of every little bit of what we've said today, and all of the different features up to date.
Yeah, and there's so much of the CRM that we could go into, but we don't have the time today. So there's a lot of things like aliases. So if you have 3 different emails for a person, you only need 1 contact record. Attaching files. So if you upload a file to a record, then they can access that from the client portal. So if you're a graphic designer and you're making logo designs, then you can put up those in the client portal once they've essentially paid for those designs. And there's a lot of other areas as well that we've not spent too much time on in different extensions. So this is a good page to go on, and you can read about each of those. If you wanted to look at files, you can jump in and you can see a bit more information on some potential workflows. So you may want to be storing like identity checks on your contacts. So you can upload it to the record, but then you don't necessarily have to have it shown to them on the portal. And so you might have a task where you need to get potentially a passport, a proof of address, and then once that record's done, you can change status and move on to the next stage.
Okay. So perhaps we'll just move on to general questions now. That's okay. So if you've got anything you would like to ask us, please do ask using the Q&A at the bottom of Zoom. And if you're on social, I'm afraid you might have to wait for that. But you can always drop us an email from the contact at the top of that page. You can see Mike's sharing there. Shall I just fire off questions, Mike, and we go through them?
Yeah, sure.
Cool.
Yeah, and actually, if I may interrupt really quickly, if you are watching us on social, you can ask us questions and Jeff will field them to Mike or Woody.
I have one good one. In fact, great overview, Mike and Woody, but throwing one out to Facebook just because you're here looking at the front page of Jetpack CRM. Craig from Facebook asked if you can show what CRM looks like really from a user or site visitor's standpoint. And of course, it can look all different ways depending on how tools are integrated into a site. But if off the top of your head, either of you have a great example, other than our own, of course, feel free to show us a really optimal example of collecting information from a user or visitor standpoint.
Yeah, that's a good question. So generally, it will fit your theme. So whatever WordPress theme you have, and from a visitor's perspective, they don't see any of the CRM because it's your private business data. So your clients go on and see all the contacts. But if you do enable the client portal, which I touched on before, then any data that's in here is restricted to that person. So if they log into the client area, they'll be able to see invoices, they'll be able to see any transactions they've made and any files that you've chosen to share with them. But apart from that, they don't see anything else of the CRM.
I think that's quite late stage when they've become a customer. There's also the first stage, which we touched on a bit with the contact forms. Yeah. There's many ways that these contacts end up as a customer, hopefully. And talking about contact forms and how that might show on your front end, there's many different contact forms providers. Maybe you saw on our extensions page, we have extensions which fit in with quite a few of the popular ones. So we definitely work with Jetpack Forms, which is a great option. But we also have support for Gravity Forms, Contact Form 7, and soon a few others in the pipeline. So if you're using Contact Form 7 on any site, even in fact, in our case, it doesn't have to be the same site as the CRM's on. That data can be automatically wired in, and things like Contact Form 7 look great pretty much on any of your websites. It's pretty well styled. Hope that helps.
Yeah, and the Jetpack form isn't listed here because it's a free extension. So that's in the actual, if you go to this manage extensions here, and you go to core extensions, you see Jetpack Farms is included for free. So it's not a paid extension, so it's not listed under the Farms area here, in case you're wondering where that was.
Great.
Thank you for the question. I'll start reading off some then, Mike, and we'll see how we go. Sarita, I hope I pronounced that right. Can you save created emails for later use, for use at a later date or time, as opposed to having to recreate each time? I'm not sure which point you asked that, Sarita. In various places, we've got a few different ways of sending emails. There's mail campaigns, which is like a kind of a complete product in itself almost, which you can definitely save, or you can have ongoing campaigns. But in terms of sending single emails, you can have templates too with an extension we've got called System. What is it called, Mike? System
Email Pro. So I've just installed that. So as you can see before, when we went on emails, and I sent this email out, I've installed it, and now you can see we've got canned replies. So you can add a new canned reply. Say welcome to Jetpack. Yeah.
And this just takes out some of that legwork, exactly like you've asked here, where you are sending a very typical email out.
So then you can go back to emails, and then when you come to essentially do another email there, you can insert a reply, and it will pop it in and save you a bit of time.
It's a great follow-on question, which I'll just ask because Mike's the man who made automations. John asked, I'm interested in learning how to set up email templates like standard follow-up email. Can you cover how to do that? And maybe you don't need to show the full process here, Mike, but we could talk about automations a little bit, which is one of our extensions, which we wrote basically by a lot of people asking us that exact question, John. It's often that you want to do fire off an email based on an event. So Mike's already doing it here.
Yeah.
So what this is going to do, do you want to explain, Mike?
Yeah, sure. So what this one does is automations. So you can say on a new contact, if they have a specific status, then email the contact. So if they're a lead, you can say welcome to the club. Yeah, it was great meeting you. Please sign up. You can add whatever you want to have there, and then say sign up. Save the automation. Then in automations, you see I've got a few I made earlier, and so the sign up one is the one at the bottom. I'll turn off some of these ones. So I've got one here that will send me an SMS every time I have a new contact. So I have to remember to turn that off when I'm doing demos. So again, if I add a new contact, again, his status was lead.
And so this can be, Mike's adding it manually now, but perhaps this person's come in for a contact form, then they could get an email saying, okay, we've got your email, we'll get back to you within 2 days, or whatever sort of flow you might have there. And that could be a text, as Mike's explained there, an SMS.
Yeah.
So automations is a really powerful thing that we're going to build much more upon as soon as we can.
So that should now be showing in the emails. Not necessarily in there, but it will have sent an email to the contact. Again, I'm not on a live website, so it won't have actually gone anywhere. So I won't have accidentally emailed Woody at woody.com. So it's...
Let's hope. Let's jump into another. I'll try and answer all these email questions in one go so that we can move on to a different area. Sarita asks, can you track specific links in an email as well as open click and unsubscribe? I think we might be talking about mail campaigns here. Certainly, I think we haven't got it yet in the single email send. We might.
No, it is. You can see whether they're opened or not. So on emails, I believe, recent activity, it might show you there.
Okay, so I think we've got fundamentally, we've got it there in the background working, and you can turn it off in single send. But what you have got in mail campaigns is the full tracking that you'd expect from something like MailChimp, where you can see exactly what was opened, who unsubscribed, and those basic rates that you expect from an email sending provider. Also, you can totally turn that off. I know a number of people that just physically don't want tracking in their emails, and that's, I think, fair enough. So you can turn it off at a base level in Jetpack CRM. So, shall we?
I think we could probably got time for one or two more questions.
Actually, I think we're kind of running out of time.
Oh.
So I apologize for those that had outstanding questions, but we really appreciate your joining us. Thank you so much to Mike and Woody for presenting such a great overview of Jetpack CRM and also answering all these wonderful questions. Again, just so you, for those of you who joined in late, we will be sending out an email to everyone who registered and or attended, even if you didn't attend, and it will include a link to the recording. It'll be in about a few days, probably about Monday, depending on how long it takes to render the video, but you will get a copy of the full recording. And if you have any other questions about our webinars, if you go to wordpress.com/webinars, there's a full list of all our daily webinars that we offer from Monday to Friday, as well as any upcoming special topics that we cover, just like this one on Jetpack CRM. So thank you again. And for those of you in, I was going to say Twitter, but Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, thank you so much for joining us there. We hope you have a fantastic weekend wherever you may be, and please stay safe out there.